Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels, and as you can see via real squinty eyes, I am barely awake. Excuse me, no edit button. Before we get started this morning, just a few things. First of all, shout out to fellow neurodiverse tribe member and gentleman who has gone through horrific things that he didn't deserve. A shout out to Mr. JD himself. It is his birthday today. And sir, if you ever come by this tiny little channel, I would just like to say to you, in the words of the great Groucho Marx, in honor of your birthday, may there be dancing in the streets and necking in the parlor. I hope you have a fantastic day. Also, folks, coming back to it as always for this mammoth, ever-going 126-page document. You are able to access that in the description box if you would like to follow along. Also, you will find the petition to shut the Judge Rotenberg Center down also in there as well. So, we are going back to where we left off yesterday. One last thing before we get started. If I happen to butcher any scientific jargon or words, or just stumble over my words because it's entirely way too early for me, I do ask for your forgiveness in advance. Yay, my cat's given up my seat. Okay. So, let's go ahead and get started here. We left off at 5.3.4. Massachusetts Department of Developmental Services, DDS, proposed amendment to behavior modification regulations, including ESDs for aversive conditioning. Remember, ESDs also stand for electric skin shock device. DDS, Department of Developmental Services, and SIB refers to self-injurious behavior. Okay, moving on. On or about June 8th, 2011, the Massachusetts DDS published a proposed amendment to its existing behavior modifications regulations at 115 CMR 5.14 to prohibit the use of Level 3 behavioral interventions, including ESDs for aversive conditioning. The proposed amendment would not interfere with court-approved treatment plans for individuals who were receiving such aversive interventions, nor would it require that they obtain any additional approvals, documentation, etc., that was currently required under department regulations. Pursuant to the provisions of the Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, the DDS held public hearings on July 20th, 2011 and July 22nd, 2011 to take testimony and receive public comment on the proposed regulations. Transcripts of these hearings are publicly available, which we'll probably go over those. I personally don't think it went far enough. Because, yes, it's great, grand, wonderful. You won't let any new people go onto these treatments. But you're going to continue to allow these people who've already been tortured to continue to be tortured because it's court-ordered. You have to forgive me if I think that's a load of bullshit. Moving on. Yeah, God forbid we help the people that are already being tortured, 5.3.4.1 Public Hearing on Aversive Treatment, July 20th through 21st, 2011. Over 2 days, there were 97 total oral comments, 59 of which came from the JRC employees supporting the continued use of ESDs for aversive conditioning for SIB refractory to other treatments. Also included were comments from 7 parents of students and 1 past student supporting continued device use. A lesser number of comments were made in opposition to use of ESDs for aversive conditioning, including Senator of Massachusetts Brian Joyce, who reported that experts in the field, Ivar Levis, professor of neuroscience at UCLA, and Ronald Comer, professor at Princeton University Department of Psychology, stated that the treatment is not effective long term. Adverse events such as burns, emotional distress, fear, anxiety, and agitation were reported by some speakers. These comments were incorporated and addressed in the DDS Commissioner Report on October 14, 2011, discussed below in a section of 5.3.3.2. So, one of the things that even these people that are all for these skin shocks or some of these other horrific treatments that we've already gone through all seem to say is that these treatments, these electric shocks, are not good long-term supplements, so to speak, that they do not create a change of behavior forever and ever and ever. Without the skin shocks, those behaviors do return. So one has to use logic here and question, well, if we remove the skin shocks and the behaviors return, what is the point of using them in the first place? The JRC's proposed ideas is that you use the skin shocks in order to stop the behaviors so that the student would gradually no longer need the skin shocks, right? But if those skin shocks cannot create a long-term solution, according to the medical model, why are they being used at all? It makes no sense. If it is not providing a permanent result of those so-called targeted behaviors that you're all so afraid of, then what's the point in using them at all? Only to do it for evil's sake, for cruelty's sake. That's all it is. It's the shaking the baby. You're shaking the baby so it will stop crying. That is the equivalent of what we're taking a look at. And if you don't acknowledge that, then you're not being honest with yourself. If it's not helping long term, it's not helping, period. So, for all those who shout at me, once again, well, what do we do then? You don't understand how bad it is. Two things. Number one, I am autistic. I absolutely know how bad it can get. I have done some of these things, particularly the head banging repeatedly into the floor. Number two, when you tell me I don't understand, I have again worked in the actual field, folks, both on voluntary and as a career choice earlier in my life. I have actually worked in the field. I have talked to the professionals. I have talked to the parents that you keep telling me that I don't understand their side. I have talked to residential homes, the caretakers, and the staffers there. Do not tell me I do not understand those behaviors. Okay? What you're doing is torture. Point blank. Period. Bye bye. See you later. And the fact that the JRC constantly uses skin shocks as the only treatment and they go to it almost immediately? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to rant a little bit. Moving on. 5.3.4.2 DDS response to public testimony. This was from July 20th to July 21st, 2011, and written comments 10/14/11. Excuse me. DDS Commissioner Ellen Howe wrote a report responding to public written and oral testimony, as well as a review of the research opinions of subject matter experts and the positions taken by various organizations and associations. The report concluded the current standard of care for individuals with intellectual disability with the most severe behavioral challenges is positive behavior intervention and does not include aversive interventions or punishment. It was noted that there has been an evolution in the treatment of severe behavioral disturbances in persons with intellectual disability over the past 30 years, and particularly in the last 2 decades, which has moved towards forms of treatment that are non-aversive and involve positive behavioral supports. As a result, DDS published a proposed amendment to prohibit the use of Level 3 behavioral interventions, including ESDs for aversive conditioning. As a result, DDS published a proposed amendment to prohibit the use of Level 3 behavioral interventions, including ESDs for aversive conditioning. Apparently, they did that sentence 2 times. The opinion was based both on the body of empirical evidence showing the effectiveness of other less intrusive forms of treatment that do not involve pain, on the overwhelming support of this position by virtually every local, statewide, or national organization supporting individuals with intellectual disability, and by providers and clinicians whose practice demonstrates that non-aversive treatment can modify difficult or dangerous behaviors effectively and for the long term. Aversive interventions, in addition to causing pain and anxiety in such individuals, have no proven long-term efficacy. Thank you. The report stated that a review of the other 49 states, not including Massachusetts and the District of Columbia, indicates that 21 states specifically ban or prohibit aversive interventions through statutes, regulation, or policy. Alabama, Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Connecticut, District of Columbia, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Missouri, Montana, Nevada, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, South Dakota, Vermont, and Washington. Yeah, so pretty much everyone else that's not Massachusetts. It's pretty bad when Missouri's beating you when it comes to ethics. It's Missouri. Just saying. Just saying. I want to see real quick if I want to. I don't want to go through too much more, mainly because we've gone through quite a bit here. Yeah, we'll go ahead and stop here. We'll make this a lot shorter than usual because that really pretty much covers it. Basically, everything that we just went over in regards to what the Massachusetts Department of DDS has gone over basically shows, first of all, the amendments made so that those not currently on skin shocks could not be court ordered to be put onto them, which, again, I don't think that goes far enough. All of them need to be off of them. It is a direct violation to their human rights. But that's just me and the entire planet that's not psychotic or cruel. We also went into the DDS response to testimony, the people who came up and talked, even the experts that have basically said, although even those in favor will say, even though it is a good short-term thing to stop self-injurious behavior, it's not. It's really, really not. It does not affect those behaviors from reoccurring in the future. It's not long-term. Which, in my opinion, makes me say, why are you using it at all? It's not treatment. If it doesn't help you approach the goal, you're basically, again, shaking the baby to make them stop crying. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So we made sure to go ahead and cover all of that. So we'll go ahead and close out of here, folks. Now, as always, we don't get very many views on this channel, especially for these particular videos. The few that we do get do tend to get removed from time to time. So, folks, don't forget to hit that like button. Hit subscribe. Don't forget to hit the comments. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, folks, we here at Spilling Tea do help you have a good one. Bye-bye.